Hey everybody, I'm Amy, and this is the Be Where You Are Today podcast, where we connect with professionals in the fitness and nutrition space to help you wherever you are in your journey. Today, I am talking with registered dietitian Hilary McMahon. Hilary is a friend and professional colleague of our registered dietitian, Vivian, in our BodyFit Athletic Club. Hilary is a registered dietitian specializing in baby-led weaning and toddler nutrition. When her daughter was born in 2020, she became more aware of the true challenges that parents face when it comes to starting solids, navigating mealtime daily, and providing proper nutrition for their little ones. She founded her programs First Foods Academy and Toddler Foods Academy as a way to help families find success in the area and also have the proper support they need to navigate what can be such a challenging and ever-changing journey. Hilary's a mom to 2 kiddos and a dog mom to a golden doodle, and she lives with her family in Pennsylvania. So we've been hoping to have Hilary on the podcast for a while because Vivian and I work with adults in the BodyFit Athletic Club, and I work with adults through the YouTube channel and through all of BodyFit by Amy. But we have a lot of moms, which means we often get questions about baby, toddler, and childhood nutrition. So we're really excited to be talking with you today. So hopefully you can help answer some of these questions. I'm very excited because I have 2 kids of my own, and that you will help provide some practical tips and information for our community. So welcome to the podcast, Hilary.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Very excited to be here.
Let's start with just some intro questions, just for fun, just rapid fire, whatever first thing comes to mind. What is your favorite food, Hilary?
Pasta.
Oh,
any kind of pasta.
Yum.
Yes.
Do you have a least favorite food?
Olives.
Oh, me too. Gross.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just the briny. I love like other pickled things, but olives, it gets me in here. Can't do it.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of anything really pickled, but especially olives. And I don't understand how people have them in their drinks, especially.
Oh yeah. No, thank you. No dirty martinis for me.
Cooking or baking?
I prefer cooking.
Okay.
I don't like measuring and doing all of the exact.
Yes. Yeah.
And I hate using a rolling pin. No, thank you. No, thank you.
See, I prefer baking because I want to be told exactly what to do when it comes to cooking. But Vivian says the same thing, and my husband Kurt is the same way, where it's like cooking is like an art form and you can be flexible and try new things, but baking is like a science, right?
Yes, you can change cooking and make it your own. Baking is more like, nope, if you don't do it this way, it's not going to come out okay. Yeah.
What is the nutrition myth that you wish would go away?
Well, there's so many.
Right.
But probably that carbs are bad.
Yes.
Probably that carbs are bad. My favorite food is pasta. It just is what it is.
And as a trainer,
and I get a lot of good energy from that.
So. Yes, exactly. It's delicious, but also we know we need carbs. But for some reason, even as we evolve in the health space, people still have a fear of carbs. I'm right there with you. Yep. Do you have a favorite type of workout?
I feel like running is my favorite. Just going for a good run.
Yeah.
AirPod
outside.
In one ear, so I have a little bit of music, but also having like nature in the other ear.
I love that. Okay, so now that we got those questions out of the way, let's talk a little bit about nutrition, specifically nutrition for kids. And your specialty is baby-led weaning and toddler nutrition. So I would love to hear, because I know you have worked and do work with all types of clients, what led you to specialize in that?
So I had my oldest child, my daughter was born in 2020, a time in the world, which was very interesting. And as a dietitian, I was like, oh yeah, I don't know how to feed my own child. Like I knew I wanted to do baby-led weaning. I knew that was the avenue of starting solids I wanted. But when it came down to learning how to do it, I was like, well, shoot, I didn't learn this in school. I don't know how to do this. I took a nutrition through the life cycle course, but I didn't learn the mechanics of how to feed a child. You know what they need, right? Nutritionally. And I realized that I could use my nutrition knowledge to learn more about it, but I still had a lot to learn. And I actually at the time started an Instagram account specifically for documenting our baby-led weaning journey, just because I was like, I don't want to spam my family with all these videos and pictures and everything. before I knew it, I was being shared on other baby-led weaning accounts. And then I had all these like 600 followers. And I was like, well, shoot, again, I guess people need this information and they want to hear it from a professional, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
At the time, I was looking to leave my former job and was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm going to be helping, because I've always been very interested in maternal and childhood nutrition. I have a background in human development and family science as my undergraduate minor, because I've always wanted to sort of dive into that realm. And I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. So started with infant nutrition and doing all the starting solids, baby-led weaning things. Then some of my clients were aging into the beyond 12-month phase, and moms were saying, Hilary, just make a little toddler boot camp to add on to your course. But when I sat down to do that, I realized, no, this is a full-blown course, because toddlers are a whole different element. And so it just, evolved into, now I have 2 courses, and I'm stopping there. I'm committing to stopping there because I don't want to do the full child lifespan, but there's definitely a segue that happens. And I think that connecting them is helpful for most families.
I love hearing stories, because we have a very similar organic story of me just starting to post workouts online for family and friends and for clients when they weren't training with me, and seeing that grow and realizing there is a need for something, and that people are not looking for someone random. They're looking for someone who is going through it and has the background and the knowledge. And I love, because tons of us are out there posting beautiful pictures of our babies and funny videos, but to have a true expert sharing your journey and then sharing your knowledge, that's pretty invaluable. I think that's the best side of social media, right? I love that it evolved for you in that way. So your daughter is now a little bit older, but you have a new baby, right? So doing it all again. So are you just now in that starting phase?
So at the time of recording, he's under 5 months. So we'll be starting in April. I don't know when you're airing this, but we'll be starting solids in April. So right around the corner. And I'm excited to have like my own organic new content to post on my account, because right now I share clients' videos and photos when I'm remembering the new mom brain. My account has taken a hit. But,
we all understand.
Yes, exactly. I'm here when you need me, but I'm excited to have that content to organically share again, because I get to do it all over again.
Yeah, how fun. All right, I'll be watching. And just so all of our listeners know, we will have all of Hilary's information in the description. So you can follow her, you can check out her courses. So, I'll be really honest. As a mom, I find nutrition for kids way more stressful than my own nutrition. I think that's a lot of us, right? So I would love to hear just generally speaking, my kids are a little bit older. They're out of the toddler phase. Thankfully, it's a tough phase, a fun one though. But what advice do you give parents when they're just saying, oh, I'm so stressed out by this, or I have a lot of anxiety about nutrition for my kids?
Totally understandable, right? We want what's best for our kids, and us as the owner of our own body, we're like, oh, we can experiment on ourselves. But when it comes to our kids, we're a little bit less likely to do that. And I think the biggest thing with understanding where you want to get your information is know that you're getting it from a reliable source. There are so many things you can find on Google, so many things you can find I even, as a Instagram account holder and just professional, I follow Facebook groups about baby-led weaning, and I follow random moms that share about baby-led weaning. And I'm like, no, that information is very incorrect and very unsafe. And if they have thousands of followers, or they're in a baby-led weaning Facebook group with 14,000 members, all of those people are seeing that content, and it's not always safe. I've seen some very unsafe things in them and tried to just gently correct, and gotten kicked out of Facebook groups for that. Oh, gosh. So it's just, not everyone is an expert, and I'm not saying that I'm the end all be all, right? But I think you want to know that the provider that you're getting the information from has your child's best interest in mind. And are they looking at it from the lens of nutritionally sound information, taking care of your child's body, but also, is your child going to be safe in this process?
That's huge. I mean, we talk about that a lot, Vivian and I both do, of just, it's the Wild West out there on Google and the social media space. And you can find a lot of really big accounts, people with a lot of followers who are just posting, oh, this worked for me. That does not make them an expert. And that certainly does not mean that it will work for you. And I think experts in our fields like you and me will say, here's the evidence, here's what we know, and it still is not a one size fits all, but certainly safety, I think, especially with the littles, that I remember having a lot of anxiety around choking and things like that. So such a good point to make sure you know what the credentials are of the person that you're getting your information from. So that is very helpful. So we've talked about this before. So Hilary was a guest in our BodyFit Athletic Club a couple years ago, I think, and talked to me and a lot of moms. And one of the things that we talked about is the importance of not labeling food or not giving food a moral value. I mean, this is something that we all grew up with, diet culture, and we still hear our moms and grandmas and a lot of people labeling foods good or bad, or now I think the bigger trend is toxic or inflammatory or things like that. So we talk about that a lot with adults, about like what that does mentally and emotionally, and also why it's inaccurate. But why is that important when we're talking about food around and to our kids?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's important to recognize that when babies are born, they're intuitive eaters. They cry when they're hungry, and then you feed them and you see them stop eating when they're full. You're breastfeeding, they're going to take what they need. If you're feeding a bottle, they stop if they're full, or they cry for more because they're hungry. And us as the parents, we're the ones influencing that understanding of hunger fullness if we're forcing more, right? I think of when we spoon feed little ones, if we are wanting to finish the jar, or even getting to the point of toddlerhood and saying, you need to take 3 more bites, right? That's teaching them you're not listening to your body when your body's full. Now, of course, there's distractions. That's a whole nother thing. But truthfully, us as the parents, we're the ones kind of interrupting that intuitive process. And along the same lines, we are also influencing their opinions about food. So if we are in that, pushing phase of saying, try more, you need more, eat the broccoli, it's healthy, don't eat the cookies, eat the broccoli before you had the cookies. We're creating labels for foods. We're calling them good versus bad, or I have to eat this yucky broccoli to get to that really good cookie, right? We're creating labels there. And like you said, a lot of us or adults in this generation just have poor relationships with food because they were told they had to finish everything on their plate. They were punished for no dessert if you can't do this, finish your homework, and those types of things. And food has been very tied to reward. And I think that is something that, especially, we do this in our household, but I try to teach with my clients too, pull that out, stop doing that, and really disconnect that. And instead, I like to insert curiosity, right? So not food is good or bad, right? But is that food crunchy or is it soft? Or like, how many of those carrot coins can you stack up on top of each other before they fall over? And teaching them how to be exploratory with food instead of labeling it, because they can get that information at school, or they can be influenced by peers, and we can't control those things. But as the primary teachers of our kids, when we're the caretakers of the parents, we need to be setting that example.
That's so helpful, the curiosity factor. And we are definitely guilty over here of, as they get older, it does become a little more of it. Well, one, they just ask for a lot more things, and they see their friends with different things at school. And it does get harder in that way of not being like, or we have had the experience recently where a friend told my son, well, I don't know, that has artificial flavors, or like, it's already happening. He's just 9. But having to navigate that of just, some foods are different and some families eat different things. I have a lot of stress around it. And I feel like, as someone who is maybe more informed, because I do work day to day with a dietitian and I follow you and lots of other, experts in the field, it can get hard. So it's helpful to remember, one, what is my stuff? What is stuff that I grew up with that it's very hard to recognize that, but I think I'm getting better about it. And how can we just make them curious? And also just not, like, if we know this, if we make things too precious or too, this is only on Halloween, or this is only this, that's when they want it more. And it becomes a thing that again, like, they're going to grow up thinking, well, why is that? Is it because it's bad? Is it because...
Well, and to that point too, when you think about, if there's foods that your son's friend was saying something about the artificial dyes or whatever,
Yeah.
if there's something that you really don't want your kid to eat, you can't shelter them forever, right? They might have it at some point. And if you
Yeah.
completely restrict it, they're going to just want it more, because you know a kid's brain, when you tell them they can't have something, they just want it more.
Just want it.
So,
Yes.
so do we as adults, right?
Yeah.
So it's allowing them to have that. But I think is saying that, like some families eat different things, or if they see something on the shelf at the grocery store and you're like, yeah, no, I'm not buying that. You just say, oh no, it's not on the list today. Maybe next time. And provide that, no, it's not never happening, but it's not happening today.
It is amazing when you see that it does actually work in terms of taking the novelty out of it. I think of this as like Halloween, or we just had Valentine's Day when they get candy. We just, whatever happens that day, we let it happen. We have a candy bucket. It's up in the cabinet. Sometimes they ask for it and sometimes they completely forget about it. So it is one of the, but we don't make a big deal about saying, okay, time to put the candy away. Valentine's Day is over. And even though it's really hard not to do that, it is hard not to say, okay, you got to eat some real food now, or which again is a label, right? When I say real food versus, is that piece of candy not food, So having to catch myself in those moments, but then seeing like they do have this like, sometimes I think about my candies, sometimes I don't. And it is amazing to watch. It's still hard. It's an ongoing battle of just trying to balance all of the things, because we do all just want what's best for our kids, and we want them to be eating things that are good, nutritious. And see, I'm even catching myself in the moment, right? Like eating healthy things, like there I am labeling food again, but it's if everybody wants to take that away from this, we all struggle with this. So.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I do too. Every child is so different, and you can have a standard of like, here's what to do, but every child's going to respond differently to it. And that's where I know how my daughter responds. Certain things, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't get enough of this. But then some things we have in the house for a day and a half and she forgets. Yeah. So the next child might be totally different. What motivates them? And that's where leaning in on listening to what experts have to say is so helpful in that sense, because there's no one size fits all answer.
My kids have definitely both gotten pickier as they've gotten older. I think they all go through those phases, and then they also try more things, than maybe they did when they were toddlers. But can you talk a little bit about those stages? And again, I know there's no one size fits all. I just heard somebody say, well, I thought at 6, I read that they were supposed to try more things, but my kid is sick. That's not happening. So are there certain stages that, from the dietitian standpoint, that we see different things, or that's a good time to try new things? Just, what advice do you give parents on the life stages?
I think really that sweet spot, and this is why I love baby-led weaning so much, is that 6 to 12 month window, right? I call it the honeymoon phase of eating, where everything is exciting. Everything is, oh my gosh, I can't get enough of this. And you're like, oh my gosh, look, my kid's eating mushrooms and lamb and I don't know, just random foods that might not be normal, quote unquote, kid foods. But then they start to develop that preference around 12 months. So the more you can get under their belt before they hit 12 months, the more variety and just, the more variety that you can give them before that point, you're going to have a wider base to start from, right? If you only introduce 10 foods before their first birthday, and then they start to develop preference, you've got a lot less to choose from than if you did, let's say, I love the whole 100 first foods concept. So if you have that many, maybe you're down to, I don't know, 75 or 80, but that's still way more than like 5 foods, right?
Yeah.
So starting there is great. But if you're past that point, you can't go backwards. So I think the biggest thing to remember is consistency. Our kids are getting information about food from peers and from family members. Maybe a sibling doesn't like something. Maybe a parent's doing a fad diet and they've cut out a whole food group. Oh, now I think that fruit's bad for me, right? There's so many things in that sense that they're watching and seeing and learning through observing others. And so that creates pickiness in itself, but they also have their own preferences to deal with. So the biggest thing we can do to combat that, in my opinion, is provide that consistency. We can say, here's a nutritionally sound meal where I'm providing proteins, I'm providing fiber, a variety of colors of fruits and veggies, and maybe not all in the same meal, but we're doing a variety over the course of their days, their weeks. And if we're providing that, they have the opportunity to eat that. If they don't want to eat that, that's their choice. Now, of course, there's nuances with that. Children who have more sensory needs around food and things like that. So we don't want to discount those things, but being consistent with nutrition overall is important. And sometimes kids come back around to things. So even if they don't want something, putting it on their plate, or if they're not comfortable with it being on their plate, having it in a serving bowl on the table, it still needs to be present there, right? Mm-hmm. I can use my own daughter as an example. She loved like seafood and tuna and shrimp and all those things when she was a baby. And then when she was about 18 months, that was just a no-go anymore. Mm-hmm. And honestly, up until the past, 6 months, she just still really didn't like it. And at Thanksgiving, we had seasoned cocktail shrimp, and she ate about 10 of them. And my husband and I were like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And now we just took her on a little belated Valentine's dinner the other day, and she was so excited to order shrimp cocktail.
Oh,
but she didn't eat it for so long. Mm-hmm. And it's honestly because when we eat shrimp or when we eat seafood, even if she doesn't want it, there's a little piece on her plate. And if she wants to eat it and interact with it, she can, but we don't force it.
Yeah, that's so good to remember. And we've actually seen the same thing with our 6-year-old, our daughter, and she has, always been slightly more adventurous than her brother as we've gotten older. But she just in the last year just started eating peppers because they both consistently eat carrots with maybe hummus or ranch, and she will eat cucumbers. And so there were already some things that she liked, but we would put the peppers out, and she just one day decided to try them again. And now we put them in her lunch almost every day because she really likes them. So, but that was so surprising to us of, oh my gosh, she likes another vegetable. You feel like you're succeeding. But it wasn't something that we forced. It wasn't something that we said, you have to try this, but we had things available. And I'm definitely guilty. I'm a picky eater myself, but I do remind my kids, I do try things because your taste buds change and things change, and you might like something in a few years that you didn't like and vice versa. But
cooking it a different way, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Or trying something. I always think about, like, as kids, I never liked Brussels sprouts, but now they're delicious because we make them in all of these new and different and fun ways. So that's such a good reminder of just access and not forcing and not making it a big thing, or you have to try this, or you have to eat this because of X, Y, and Z.
And again, that curiosity there too. So again, I'm using broccoli as an example, but if you're looking at broccoli and let's say you're serving roasted broccoli, they can look at it and be like, what does it look like? Ask them questions about it. Again, create that curiosity where does it look like a tree? Is it crunchy? Is it soft? Asking them questions. And maybe they want to just touch it and poke it, and that's fine. But if they want to pick it up and taste it too, awesome. Just whatever you can get, right? Creating that curiosity and letting them interact with food in ways that are lower in pressure.
Yeah, we've actually found that with the broccoli. My daughter loves it. And when she was little, and I think this might have even been a tip from you, but something I saw online of like, it's a little tree. Do you hear the bird? Okay, now the bird flew away. Let's chop down the tree. Like, just making it fun and low pressure, I think we have seen some success with that. It's still hard. We still have picky eaters, but at the same time, you talk to friends, and it's a lot of it just seems to be the age, and I'm trying to just be patient and not stress about it, but it does get stressful.
Remembering that you're not perfect either, and that's okay, right? Yeah. You're not here to make the situation perfect, right? So if you are going to just write off everything because you're like, oh, well, they don't like it. We're just done. I can't do it, so I'm just not going to do it. That's also not the answer. But the other answer isn't forcing, right? So it's providing the opportunity and taking what you can get. Just with a lot of things in parenting.
I was going to say that seems, our metaphor for all of parenting.
Yeah, exactly. Just taking what you can get and opening the doors to make it fun. Being playful, being curious.
And I also think too, I don't love to cook, but I do. And my husband does a lot, and having them a little more involved in the process also seems to help a little bit. My daughter especially seems to really enjoy it, and just does seem to spike the curiosity rather than saying like, all right, we're going to make this and now you have to eat it, of just like, look what we did together. You helped scramble the eggs or whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
Has been really helpful as well. So I would love to hear more, and so our listeners can hear more about your courses. You mentioned them a little bit in the beginning, and just how, again, we'll put some links below, but what all they entail and what options you have available for parents.
Yeah, absolutely. So my sort of foundational program is First Foods Academy. That is my baby-led weaning course. And I kind of call it like a course meets coaching program where you have the online self-guided course, but you also get one-on-one support from me. So you enroll, you get a full hour strategy call. And then from there, there's monthly office hours. Sometimes you're the only one there. Sometimes there might be a couple other moms there or parents there. And you're getting to hear from other people, but you're also getting the live support. If you're not on those office hours calls, you can also use chat support with me. I have that. But it's just honestly nice to have that support avenue when you're walking through a new process. I'll use the example of I just had a mom start solids with her son about 2 months ago, and he has now had 2 experiences with food allergies. And she just said to me the other day, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have your support in my back pocket, because I don't want to Google this. It's too scary. So having that support is huge, especially starting solids, which is something that not a lot of us know a lot about when we're just handed a packet at the doctor's office, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of where it stemmed from. Like I said earlier, I had moms that were like, oh, let's have a toddler boot camp week, but it became a whole thing. And now I also have Toddler Foods Academy, which is the extension arm of First Foods. You don't have to be enrolled in First Foods to hit Toddler Foods. I have a lot of families that say, oh, I wish I would have done a better job with my infant. And now I have quote unquote issues or concerns. So let's jump into toddler. Or maybe they did do First Foods Academy and love that foundation, want to continue having that foundation and not just giving up on it, or, ignoring the fact that once they become toddlers, there's a whole new set of behavior and a whole new world when you hit toddlerhood. And so now I have that program as well. It has the same structure, online course, one-on-one support, office hours. There's an online community, a Facebook community for the families, as well as the course has tools, templates, recipe libraries, all kinds of things. So those are my main 2 avenues of support, but I also have an ebook that is basically how to serve all of your different foods safely for your little ones, as far as safe texture, structure, etc., shape, all of that. So I have over 130 foods in that ebook to teach people how to safely do baby-led weaning and beyond.
So, and I assume those are all available on your website, which again, we will put all your links below.
I do also have a podcast, but it has sort of fallen by the wayside, truthfully, with pregnancy and then newborn life.
Again, we understand.
Not giving up on it. It's there. And honestly, the content is great. In fact, I just shared that earlier on my stories. I was like, you know what? I've been doing podcast interviews, but mine is just sitting there. But it has great content, so you can go listen to that too.
And I love that, because I think your courses seem very similar to what we do in the BodyFit Athletic Club, where it's maybe somebody doesn't have the budget or the time to work with a personal trainer individually, but they want the structure and they want to have that support. So you get that. And it feels like the same for you. Like they're maybe not going to seek out a pediatric dietitian because maybe they don't feel like they need that or have the time for that, but to have the expert in your corner where you get the information, but you also have the chance to ask questions, and connecting with other people in your same life phase, I feel like can be really helpful as well. Yeah, I often quote you because I remember the first time when we had you in the BAC, when you said course meets coaching, and I was like, that's similar to what we do. It's not one or the other. It's combining the two where you get the support, maybe not at the one-on-one, all personal high level, but you get what you need from that. So
absolutely,
especially for busy parents, like we're all running low on sleep and high on all the different things that we have to be doing throughout the day. So it's nice to have that where you can get your information when it works for you
and not feel lost in the research.
Yes. And I feel like even little things, now I'm thinking back to my baby phases of remembering, like, when do I have to stop cutting the blueberries? When do I have to stop? Like little things like that, where I'm like, I could Google that, but to have an expert say developmentally, this is when it's just little questions like that you think are so simple, but
exactly, because you can find an answer to support what you believe if you Google it, right? Like
exactly,
you're going to get both answers.
It's not the evidence-based answer.
Correct.
Excellent. Well, last thing, and this is something that we do with all of our guests. So the podcast is called Be Where You Are Today, because that's sort of my catchphrase of be where you are today in your workouts and just in your life. Again, I think a good metaphor for parenting as well. But we would love to ask you where you are today. So where are you? You know, I know you have a toddler and a baby, so nutrition with them, but also in your own journey. I love to ask, workouts are my thing. So you've been able to get moving postpartum, as we know that's a really hard time. Yeah. Where are you today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like we are just in a very big season of transition, right?
Yes.
You know,
Survival.
a low sleep, 4-month sleep regression.
Oh.
Man, it's real right now.
Yes.
Teething at the same time. So, you know, just I think maybe I should say survival. Maybe I shouldn't say transition.
Yes. Yeah. It feels like survival.
Yeah, we're going to go with transition. It's a more positive word, but I think
Right.
just learning to adapt to be a family of 4. And as far as, moving my body more, I'm just trying to fit it in where you can. You know, the days here in Pennsylvania are getting nicer, so I'm getting out and walking as much as I can.
Great.
And really hoping that my little guy eventually finds a solid morning wake up time so I can commit to a morning workout, because right now I'm like, I could get up at 5:30 and he gets up at 5. So
of course. Yeah.
we are just in all the thick of it. But I think just, living in that phase of transition, but having so many little amazing things on the horizon. So.
Yeah, it is. It's that question of just juggling all of it. The kids, running your own business. I'm in that space as well. Working from home, which is such a blessing, but also very challenging in its own right. Yeah, it's tough, but it sounds like you're doing great. And listen, when you're ready to get back into regular workouts, you know I've got you. So
oh, I know. They honestly, like, when you reached out about doing the podcast, fangirling a little bit, because I was like, oh my gosh, she gets me through my pregnancies, right?
Oh,
I know,
I love it.
I recommend your YouTube channel for almost every pregnant mom I meet, because they're just really good supportive videos, and my daughter loved doing them with me. So
good.
She'd come in the morning and be like, you know, Mommy, where are my weights? And would do them with me. So,
I love that. And it is, you know, it's very, just to have it come full circle, it is exactly what we talk about with food, right? What you model for them and what you introduce them to without making it a thing is so important. Like, she's enjoying working out because she sees you enjoying it, and not making it, oh, mommy has to work out to be skinny, or all of the things that we talk about. So very similar in that way. So I should send you some of the recent ones where my daughter, probably when she was around that age, like 4 and 5, she's in a few of the videos because she just loved it, and she always asked to be in them. So I should send you some of those, because your daughter might really enjoy them. Thank you so much for being here, Hilary. This has been so helpful to me as a mom of 2 kids myself, but I know helpful to so many of our listeners. As you know, many of the moms are finding me in their pregnancy and in the postpartum phases. So many of our community are in this infant and toddler stage and are, you know, going through the challenges that we all experience when we're trying to just feed our babies. So I think it's so important that we're providing, you know, good information from true experts, where you're not only getting the information, the education, but you're also getting a lot of support and encouragement from people who've also been there themselves. So thank you for providing that for us today, and we hope to have you back.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. It was so much fun.
Remember, you can listen to this podcast as well as our other episodes over on my YouTube channel and anywhere that you get your podcast. I'm Amy, reminding you to show up, keep moving, and be where you are today.